Repeat that, Dawson said again, this time lower. He stepped closer, his hand rough, filthy, grabbed her face and forced her to look up at him. The only thing I know, he growled. Is that you're spending the night in the women's cell? No uniform, no name, and none of that I'm better than you face. Out here, you're nobody. Carter began reading something out loud. One of the documents, they had found a letter from the Department of Defense, addressed to Major Dawson. Hey Dawson, this says Brigadier General Naomi Graves. Yeah, you believe that? He scoffed. I do, she said, finally lifting her chin ever so slightly. And if you have half a brain, you'll give me that phone back. Carter slapped her without thinking. A sharp, fast strike that sent her reeling even though she was still handcuffed. One more, Blackie, he whispered into her ear. One more, and I swear you'll forget who you ever were. The blow didn't knock her down, but it made her stagger. The taste of blood filled her mouth. General Naomi Graves didn't say anything. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. But inside something cracked, and it wasn't fear. It was a kind of silent rage. Surgical, now. You understand how things work, General. Carter sneered, squatting to her level. You're not in the damn Pentagon here. You're on my highway, my shift, my rules. She turned her head slowly, her eyes fixed on the phone still in his hand. That phone is a direct line, she said. If you do anything else, this stupid act is going to blow up in your faces. Your phone, Dawson shouted, smashing it against the pavement. You know what I think, said Carter, folding his arms and looking at her with disdain. I think you're not even military. I'd bet you bought that uniform online, one of those dumb Halloween costumes. What's next? You going to say you're an astronaut or the president? Maybe with that ass you could try out as a base stripper. Dawson added with a chuckle, circling her. What do you think, Carter? Carter came up behind her and shoved her hard, forcing her to her knees on the street. Her hands still cuffed. Don't get high and mighty. Slave, look at yourself kneeling, bleeding on the pavement. Just what you are. Nothing. Naomi took a deep breath. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her face had hardened, but her eyes spoke a different language. One that Carter and Dawson understood. It wasn't a plea. It was a sentence, still kneeling, still bleeding. Naomi looked Dawson straight in the eye and spoke slowly. Last chance, give me the phone. You can still stop this, Dawson spit in her face. Carter laughed again, but his laugh no longer had the same confidence. Something was slipping out of their grip, and they didn't yet know how much. Naomi, unmoving, swallowed the blood and pain. She lifted her eyes to Dawson, then to Carter. What's wrong? She asked with a calm that didn't match her state. You afraid one phone call could cost you your badge? Badge. Carter exhaled sharply, but avoided her gaze. Dawson took a half step back unintentionally, as if he had felt something. Behind her words, something bigger than him. She stood up with difficulty, the handcuffs clinking behind her back. Give me 1 minute, just that one damn minute, if you think I'm nobody. If you're so sure I wear this uniform out of charity or because of some inclusion program. She stepped forward, eyes locked like a missile. Then what's it to you to let me make a call? You threatening us? Dawson snorted, but his voice didn't sound as sure as before. I'm offering you a chance to get off the train before it derails, she replied, not raising her voice, because if I dial that number, it's over, not just for you, for your boss, for the department, for this county. Carter tried to laugh, but his lip trembled. You're not calling anyone, he said, kicking the broken remains of the phone. But even then his voice carried a crack. Naomi smiled, just barely, a young woman, maybe 25, with curly hair and thick glasses, ran across the street holding a cell phone in her hand. She clutched it tight as if it were a loaded weapon. Use mine, she shouted fearlessly. Here, call whoever you need to call. Hey, step back. Carter yelled, moving toward her, and she's a general. You idiot. I serve too, spat the young woman without letting go of the phone. And I know what that uniform means. Carter tried to stop her, but another witness, a burly man with a veteran's cap, stepped between them and pushed him back. You. Lay a hand on her, he growled through gritted teeth. And I swear the only ones needing backup will be you. Naomi raised her cuffed hands. The young woman brought the phone close to her face, the screen unlocked, trembling in her hands. Naomi dialed from memory. She didn't hesitate, Defense Communications. Identify yourself. The voice on the other end was robotic, efficient, secure. Naomi swallowed hard. She spoke directly into the speaker. Brigadier General Naomi Graves, code for 1481 Lima, illegally detained by county officers. Stafford County. Approximate location, Interstate 95, exit 140, in front of Maronil gas station. They are destroying federal property and compromising operational security. A hush of astonishment passed through the crowd. Carter stood frozen. Dawson turned. Pale. I repeat, Naomi continued. Armed officers. Hostile behavior. Possible racial profiling. Immediate response unit. Priority Alpha. Transmitting under duress. Repeat. Priority Alpha. Confirm coordinates. General, the voice. Responded. Now more alert. GPS active on damaged device. Visual triangulation required. Repeat. Hostility with FIR. That's enough. Dawson shouted and shoved the phone away. The device flew, crashing onto the pavement. But it was too late. The call had gone through and it would not be ignored. The crowd broke into shouts. Some cheered. Others began filming. Carter stepped back, cursing under his breath. Dawson looked around like a cornered animal, and Naomi only lifted her head, her lips split. Her eyes unwavering. The clock had started ticking. Carter and Dawson stood silent, both staring toward the highway where the horizon shimmered in the heat rising from the asphalt. Something in the air had changed since the call. It wasn't paranoia, it was protocol. That call was fake. Carter stammered, more to convince himself than anyone else. It was theater. Dawson added, but he could no longer hide the sweat on his neck nor the trembling in his fingers. They cuffed me for no reason, Naomi said, voice steady, not moving an inch. They struck me, insulted me, and destroyed federal property. All of it was recorded on more than one device. But none of that will matter in the next 5 minutes, because you have no idea what you've just triggered. Carter looked at his watch, then at his patrol car. He considered running for a moment. He truly did. And then they arrived, without sirens, without noise. 3 black vehicles with no insignias pulled up, braking with surgical precision. The doors opened at the exact same time. 2 men stepped out of the first vehicle, gray suits. No visible badges, but carrying the kind of presence that needed no introduction. One of them looked at Naomi. General Graves? Yes, she answered. Chin high, handcuffs gleaming under the sun. Can you confirm you were coerced? Yes. The second agent was already moving toward Dawson, pulling something from his inner pocket, a small credential with a golden seal. He flashed it for less than a second. He didn't need to show more. Officer Dawson, you and your partner will disarm yourselves now. Who the hell are you? Carter tried to bark, but his voice cracked on the last syllable. Federal Protection Agency. The man said evenly. And that woman you cuffed without charges is an active member of the Pentagon Strategic High Command. The silence became lethal. Naomi turned slightly, showing her wrists. Take these off, now. One of the agents stepped forward with a specific tool. He unlocked the cuffs with a clean metallic click. Naomi let them fall to the ground without even glancing at them. She rubbed her wrists, the skin still marked from the metal. Dawson raised his hands. We were told the vehicle was suspicious. You knew exactly what you were doing. The agent cut him off coldly. And now you will stay very, very still until the federal jurisdiction officers arrive. Carter tried to take a step back. I didn't hit her. We were just trying to verify her identity. Naomi turned to him for the first time since the call. No cuffs. Control restored. Verify my identity, she repeated with a sharp smile. You called me monkey slave. You cuffed me. You spat on me. That's verification. The second agent approached her and offered a tablet. On the screen, an open form with activated options. Ma'am, you may now initiate the emergency disciplinary protocol. Would you like to file the formal complaint immediately? Naomi looked at Carter, then at Dawson. They both blinked, stunned. Not yet. The 2 men blinked. Confused, Naomi tightened her lips. I want them to feel it. What it's like not knowing when the ceiling's going to collapse. I want them to sleep tonight wondering if tomorrow they'll still wear a badge, or be cleaning desks in some forgotten basement archive. Carter swallowed hard. Dawson said nothing. Naomi added, turning to the crowd without breaking eye contact, activate. The protocol. The agent tapped the screen. A red icon began flashing. And with that, the official clock started ticking. Dawson could barely stand. Carter clenched his teeth, jaw tight, knowing that arguing was now useless. Every extra word was a bullet in the coffin of his career. "You will remain here," said one of the agents, his tone absolute final. "A unit from the JAG Judge Advocate General is en route. You'll have access to legal counsel. But preliminary charges will be read within the next few hours." "Jesus," Dawson stammered, voice barely a thread. How so fast?" "Everything was recorded," the agent replied. "And your behavior toward a high-ranking uniformed and badged Department of Defense officer already constitutes abuse of authority, racial profiling, destruction of federal property, and assault on active-duty military personnel." Naomi crossed her arms. Her face was still smeared with blood, the marks of the cuffs still fresh on her skin. But her posture was solid, commanding. "I don't need to raise my voice," she said, not even glancing at them, "because I have rank, I have evidence, and I have patience. What's coming for you two," she continued, "isn't a bullet, it's a slow, public, safety net freefall." One of the agents nodded. "Your supervisors have already been notified. The civilians' footage is being collected under federal authorization, and the body cams you both wore," he looked straight at Carter, "were activated by your own hands. And what was said there cannot disappear." Carter swallowed again. He tried one final defense. "I was just following procedure. I was confused by the situation." "Confused?" Naomi cut in, her voice cracking slightly for the first time. "You confused me with what?" "Carter? A threat? Someone unworthy of respect because of the color of her skin." Dawson shut his eyes. Naomi added quietly but firmly, "I didn't come here to destroy you. You did that on your own. All I did was press the button." Minutes later, another federal vehicle arrived. 2 agents from the JAG stepped out. They introduced themselves, took the names of both officers, and began the process right there on the spot. Badges, service weapons, credentials all stripped from Carter and Dawson right then and there. One of the agents read out loud, "Officer suspended without pay, pending completion of investigation for misconduct, with potential federal criminal charges." Carter, for the first time, lowered his head. He said nothing. Dawson was breathing fast, defeated. Naomi stood silently, watching them being led to the federal vehicle. No violence, no mockery. Only the hollow dignity of men falling by their own hand. When it was done, one of the agents turned to Naomi. "Would you like to be assigned an escort for your transport, General?" She shook her head. "No, I want to drive myself. I'm fine." The agent nodded. "We'll ensure your vehicle is ready. Do you require medical attention or an additional report?" "No. What I need," she looked toward the horizon void of emotion, "has already begun, and on Interstate 95. As the sun dipped lower and the black vehicles disappeared into the distance, General Naomi Graves stood alone, finally at peace.